Hello, this is Nancy Reynolds. I'm Stampin' with Nutsy, and I'm here as part of the Global SU Share Fair. And I wanted to say I'm so glad you're here, and I'm happy to be here to show you my project. I was inspired by Kylie Bertucci, a demonstrator in Australia. She did this with Abstract Beauty, and then she did another one with the Flowering Fields, and I thought, oh, it's gorgeous, and it's fun. It's a surprise fun fold. So it has a belly band that just slips off, and it opens up into a card. And so you can see the designer series paper pattern carried across, but the surprise is there's a card inside a card. So you can write your message. I wanted to show you with the designer series paper, but I didn't have another one of this pattern. But what it is it's cut crosswise here. Then it's pieced by piece and cut out so that the pattern of the paper carries across. We're actually going to do a different pattern than this on our designer series paper. It's very easy to do. It's very quick. I had so many moving parts that I was going to take you through it step by step with all the cutting. And it was too many moving parts for me to keep everything straight and explain at the same time. So here we are. I want to explain first the card base. Here's a piece of A2 cardstock. You might, if you're in another country, you might use the A4, but you're going to only get one card from your cardstock. So here we are. The cardstock is, in the United States, the A2, it's 5.5 inches by 10.5 inches. And the reason is we're going to divide it in thirds. And 11 inches does not divide equally in 1/3. For metric, you're going to use 14.9 by 29.7 is going to be your size of your card. The good news is it will fit in an envelope, your regular envelope, so that is good. In metric, you're going to score this layer at 5 centimeters, 10 centimeters, 19.5 centimeters, and 24.5 centimeters. Then in US, you're going to do 1 3/4, 3.5, 7, and 8 3/4. Here's a little secret. If you do 1 3/4 and 3.5 inches from this end, you can just turn it around and do 1 3/4 and 3.5 inches from that end, and it's so much easier to keep straight, in my humble opinion. So I'm going to move that white cardstock out of the way. We're going to start assembling our card. I've already started. First I want to show you this. Here are my cutting directions. I made a little mistake on the card, but you know, in paper crafting, there are no mistakes. So I have figured out how to correct that, and I'll show that to you. The DSP pieces, you're going to use 4 pieces that are 1.5 by 5 1/4, or 4.5 by 14.4. And that, for me, is these 2 pieces. And the end pieces over here. So you can see how that pattern paper runs. I made sure I cut off on the same end so it would just kind of flow. This is what that pattern piece looked like. This is going to be the top of my inside card, and this is the bottom of my inside card. So you can see how this just runs into this. It makes a lovely scene, I think. So let's start putting it together. And yes, this is how I corrected myself. I took the 1/4 inch piece, a 1/2 inch piece that I had snipped off, and I put it and glued it on at a 1/4 inch. Let's see if we can see on this one. No. So it just overlapped by a 1/4, and I glued it down, and then I glued that already onto my card. And we're going to put the designer series paper on our card. Now this goes on a different card, so I'm pulling it aside. And you can use your favorite method of gluing. I'm going to use Tombow because it gives me a little bit, or the multi-purpose glue, It gives me a little bit of wiggle room as I put things together. So here's our first piece. So I told you, it goes together so quickly. And here is our second piece. But when someone gets this, aren't they going to be impressed when they see how the design just flows? Our third piece, which was from the other side. And our fourth piece, which continues our pattern. I just love this. I really was impressed when she was doing it. And here we are. We now have the basis for our card. Because I used, so across the top are my top pieces. And I'm going to put this in because I want the bottom piece to be at the bottom. So I'm going to fold this up and put the rest of my top half of the designer series paper here. And this piece is, I believe it is 3 by 5 1/4 inches. Okay, mine was 3 by 5 with 1/4 inch added on, but you know, you get the idea. So here we are. This will open up. We need to be able to write a note. You also could stamp a sentiment on this if you wanted to. I'm gonna move that out of the way so I can see better. Here we are. And this is the part that I think I'm going to find my tear and tape. To me, it seems like this is a moving part. And you're going to open and close it, and it's going to get a little more wear and tear. So I want to put tear and tape on the back of the card here, because I want it not to come apart. I don't have any worry about the designer series paper. It'll be just fine. But sometimes when you've got a moving piece, you just want something a little extra. And I'm even going to put a little bit right here. Okay, there's our tear and tape. As you know, you just take your, well, I guess that wasn't on very well. That was my die brush end, or my putty end. So I'm going to take off my backing for my tear and tape. I think I will fold up my card. It goes like this. So I'm going to pull this down. I hope I'm not off camera. And I am just going to line this up top to bottom and put it kind of in the middle, a little C on each side. I think that'll do it. And of course, if you've got it off just a little bit, you can always turn it on the back and trim off. Well, you wouldn't want to trim this piece off, but trim off the bottom piece if you were off just a little. So here's our card. It is all created. So at that 3.5 score line, 3.5 inch, you fold in, and then you fold your 1.5 inch score line back. There we are. To make the, I just love this. I love this card. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I have a 1.5 inch by 9 inch or 4 by 24 inch centimeter belly band. Just a strip of the cardstock. And again, this cardstock is Blackberry Bliss. The cardstock I used for my first card was Rich Razzelberry. Either of them work. Now, here's where you want to not make this so tight. I think I got my first one just a little bit tight. It doesn't slip on and off as easily as I would like it. So here we are. I'm going to take my snips and take a little bit off. And again, I'm going to use my tear and tape. Move the card out of the way. This one is going over. No, this one's going under. So I'm going to put tear and tape on this edge. This one will fold over, and I'm going to put tear and tape on this edge. I'm going to take off the tear and tape backing. Sorry for the noise. We will put this down, put this one on top of it. Here we are. See, we are. We're going to line up our edges because it's not scored perfectly by any means. Let's see how that goes. I did a very simple belly band. You might want to decorate yours a little more than I did. I just took a piece of vellum and the Hippo Happiness dies. I just love these. So I used the smallest and the medium-sized one. The medium-sized one I did my vellum. The smaller one, I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I'm going to replace my ink. I had my Rich Razzelberry ink still out. So here we are. My problem with vellum is it's hard to see. I do like to use a piece of scratch paper and just make sure I'm getting what I want. I'm going to line that up. Hopefully it will be straight. If you really wanted it perfectly straight, you could use your Stamparatus. But I think that came out pretty well. I am just going to take a little bit of seal across it and put it on the vellum. There we are. Closing this up before I put my hand in it and get it all over everything. I did take a bit of ribbon, and this is the Flowers for Every Season ribbon that's in the annual catalog, and I'm going to use the white, which somehow got wrapped around the other one. I always like to keep sets that come together, and a little piece of ribbon around it. So this is going to wrap around, and I'm just going to take my ribbon scissors, a little cut, taking my seal, and I'm just going to do a row on the front. Wrapping my ribbon, trimming it off, a little more seal, and bringing this up and over. I didn't feel like it needed a lot of dimension, so I didn't put a dimensional on it. I am again going to I think I'm going to use tear and tape. Put it across the middle here, making sure it's not on where it'll show through the vellum. Burnish it down. Take off my backing. See how simple that is? Just a little, cute little belly band, and then a little bling, because you have to have some bling. It's mandatory. And if I had my tear and tape, not my tear and tape, my take your pick putty tool, I would use that. But I was thinking that 2 little butterflies in the top area and 1 large butterfly in the bottom gave us our odd number, but balanced it out. And that's it. That is our surprise fun fold card using Flowering Fields Designer Series paper. Now, the one thing you might want to do is put a little something on your envelope, because we do like the card's pretty. It's surprise. You've got your surprise inside that opens up with lots of pretty DSP. I think it needs DSP on the outside too, on the envelope. So we're making a pretty envelope. Let's just take this. I think I grabbed the wrong DSP. This, well, it's all the right colors, so we're going to use it. And there we are. There's our project. I will have the directions for cutting corrected and put into the information, the description of the card. And I want to thank you for joining me and say I'll see you next time, hopefully in person. And happy crafting till I see you again. Bye-bye.